From Plato and Aristotle to Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking, the most brilliant minds in human history have long debated the mystery of the existence of God, examining the question from different points of view. This has been going on for centuries, but has science finally given us an answer? Does God really exist? To answer the biggest question of all, we have to go back a few years, just to the beginning of the universe. The prevailing scientific theory is that the universe formed following a rapid expansion that we know as the Big Bang. The Big Bang marked the beginning of absolutely everything, including space-time itself. But what caused the Big Bang? A quite simple answer could be that God started the Big Bang. And since the Earth is the only planet in the solar system, and the galaxy, and the universe that is known to harbour life, it seems reasonable to assume that God started the Big Bang and made us in turn. Emily Thomas, assistant professor of philosophy at Durham University, disagrees with this line of thinking. She says, the universe is really old, perhaps over 13 billion years old. Earth is around 4 billion years old, and humans evolved around 200,000 years ago. Temporally speaking, humans have been around for an eye blink. Clearly, there is a discrepancy between the kind of universe we would expect a human-oriented God to create and the universe we live in. How can we explain it? Surely the simplest explanation is that God doesn't exist. However, other scientists think differently and may have proof of God. In 1978, mathematician Kurt Gödel died and left behind a long and complex theory based on modal logic that indicates a higher being must exist. Gödel never published his formula in his lifetime for fear that people would think he believed in God, when he was simply exploring the logical reasoning for whether or not God exists. In essence, Gödel's formula agrees with St. Anselm of Canterbury's medieval argument that, by definition, God is a being than which no greater can be conceived. In other words, God is the best thing that we could possibly imagine. The only thing better than the perfect imaginary being would be if they weren't imaginary, if they really existed. Since God is, by definition, the best possible being, God must therefore exist. For decades, Gödel's argument remained merely one of many unproven, abstract reasonings about the possibility or necessity of the existence of God. That is, until 2013, when two computer scientists, Christoph Benzmüller of Berlin's Free University and Bruno Wolzenberger-Palio of the Technical University of Vienna, used an ordinary MacBook computer to mathematically confirm Gödel's formula. As both Benzmüller and Wolzenberger-Palio pointed out, they were not trying to prove the existence of God, but rather just showcase the power of their computers. As Benzmüller declared, it's totally amazing that from this argument, led by Gödel, all this stuff can be proven automatically in a few seconds, or even less on a standard notebook. But although Gödel's equation was confirmed on a mathematical level, can we really say the computer experiment proved the existence of God? In 2004, English philosopher and famous atheist Antony Flew drastically changed his mind and affirmed that God exists. However, he said, I'm thinking of a God very different from the God of the Christian and far and away from the God of Islam. It could be a person in the sense of a being that has intelligence and a purpose, I suppose. Research into DNA has shown, by the almost unbelievable complexity of the arrangements which are needed to produce life, that intelligence must have been involved. A decade later, Israeli scientist Gerald Schroeder, a Massachusetts Institute of Technology graduate with over 30 years of experience, claimed the universe was created out of nothing by a force of nature, which he described like the God of Genesis in the Bible. Then, in 2015, an image captured by NASA telescopes sparked speculation that God had been discovered 17,000 light-years away. NASA's Nuclear Spectroscopic Telescope Array was aimed at a pulsar called PSR B150958. They found a spectral vision of an outstretched hand. Immediately, believers all over the world claimed the hand was a manifestation of God. Although this evidence only works if you assume that God takes an anthropomorphic form. On the other hand, scientists have already rationally explained many divine proofs of God, like miracles. For example, the 10 plagues of Egypt described in the book of Exodus have all been given natural, rational explanations. Scientists are also using psychedelic drugs to simulate near-death experiences to try to explain the phenomenon which is often cited as proof of the spirit or an afterlife. Nevertheless, science is nowhere near to answers to mysteries like where does self-awareness come from? How does the brain operate? What is it that allows humans to create both mathematical calculations and works of art? And still, like petulant children, we keep asking, why is our planet so precisely tailor-made for the emergence of life? Are there rules to explain the existence of life? Were those rules created by an intelligent being, or did they arise by chance? First of all, we have to assume that if there's any other life out there, it is going to be like us, based on the chemistry of atoms and molecules with water as a basic requirement, in an environment that is not toxic to all terrestrial life. Studies of planets orbiting stars beyond our own system have shown there's a huge variety of rocky planets orbiting at the right distance from their stars to have liquid water on their surface, with an atmosphere similar to our own. Probability dictates that the conditions needed for life to arise seem to exist all over the galaxy, hence probably all over the universe. Furthermore, enough stars have lived and died that all the elements of the periodic table now exist in high abundance all throughout the galaxy. We just need those planets to have the right chemical elements that, when assembled into complex molecules, create complex life from non-life. This brings us on to one of the greatest enigmas for natural scientists in all disciplines, the problem of abiogenesis. This is simply the observation that, at some point, whether it happened in space, in the oceans, or in the atmosphere, life arose from nothing. So far, scientists have been unable to create life from non-life in the lab, so it's not yet possible to say how likely it is that life can arise anywhere besides on Earth. It could happen on as many as 25% of suitable worlds, and this would mean up to 20 billion planets in our galaxy alone could have life on them, including bodies in our own solar system, like Mars, Europa, Titan, or Enceladus. With so many chances for life in just our galaxy, you might think, as physicist Enrico Fermi did, that the odds of intelligent life arising many times in our own galaxy are so high as to be inevitable. Yet so far there is no evidence of life outside our planet. This is the essence of the Fermi paradox. But apart from these essential prerequisites like water and complex chemicals, there are other aspects we need to consider. For example, would life still exist on Earth if our planet was in a different location in the solar system, in the Milky Way, or in the universe? For example, according to Dr. Tom Barkley from NASA, thanks to its gravity, Jupiter attracts many asteroids and comets, thereby shielding Earth from objects that might otherwise cause extinction-level events. This means that our planet, without a Jupiter-sized neighbor, would have many more life-threatening asteroids to deal with, and therefore life might not exist. But that doesn't necessarily indicate divine design. As American science writer Ethan Siegel pointed out in 2017, even if there were increased asteroid impacts, would that even make intelligent life less likely, or would the larger number of extinction events accelerate the differentiation of life, making intelligent life more likely to occur? So if there is no way to tell whether life can exist in dangerous or safe environments, why, as Enrico Fermi pointed out, have we still not found other life in the universe? Well, as Dr. James Lovelock, who has pioneered cryopreservation, environmentalism, artificial intelligence, and NASA technology, summarizes, I've been involved personally in the search for life on other planets. I think the chances are very poor. Lovelock raises the question, what if we don't find any life in any of the places where we expect it? Would this mean that we only exist by divine intervention? So many questions are still unanswered that, for now, the only sure thing is that no one can really prove or disprove anything. This in turn begs one last question. Will humanity ever be able to entirely understand the universe and our own origins?